When I was younger, much like most other people, pretty much everything I did was oriented around finding an identity for myself that would make me recognizable to other people. Because I wanted to make sense, I wanted to fit in, I didn't want to be some weird kid off in the corner that didn't really know what he was doing, which is what I ended up being anyway. But nevertheless, there are all sorts of pre-existing identities out there that we all choose from because we know that they already make sense. So there's things like an artist or a comedian or a jock, or maybe someone that lives life on the edge and rides motorcycles and has tattoos and stuff like that. So what I chose was the military tough guy. I was really into working out and I wanted people to see me as athletic and tough, and I'm gonna join the military someday. But I want to denounce this approach for a couple reasons and explain what I think a much better alternative is. Now, the first reason I want to denounce this is because if you adopt an identity for reasons other than the fact that that's who you naturally are, then it's going to show. It's going to be very obvious, and you're just going to come across as very inauthentic or unnatural, because you can't truly embody something if it's just an act, if you're just mimicking other people rather than that being the natural version of yourself. So for example, back in high school, I'm sure you've seen this once or twice, I knew somebody who tried to fit in with the cool kids in quotes, but that wasn't actually who he was. So he showed up to school one day in a pink polo shirt and a popped collar, and everybody in that group just kind of rejected him, and everybody in the grade was like, all right, dude, just put that away. Because again, it wasn't actually who he was just putting up an act. And the second reason, which is perhaps more important, is that you are significantly shortchanging yourself and others, because you have so much more to offer than just simply that which exists in the box that you're trying to confine yourself in. Because not only are you going to become very boring and very uninteresting very quickly if that's what you do to yourself, but also you are silencing aspects of your personality that are otherwise truly part of who you are. And there are just endless consequences that come with that. You might attract people that you don't get along with because they don't have the complete picture of who you are. They think you're someone else. You don't get to speak out. You come across as very afraid, rather, and it's very easy for people to get one up on you. And so what does this all mean? What is the preferred alternative that I'm referring to? It is that you have to accept every preference, every personality trait, every characteristic, every experience, and all these things as part of your identity comprehensively. That's who you are. Not this box that you've chosen to show people while suppressing everything else because that's what makes sense to them. And so that means that to an extent, you're not going to make sense. You're not going to be that easy for people to figure out and be categorized, but that's what you want because, again, that's what makes you much more interesting, much more intriguing, and you actually have value to offer because you have a unique contribution to make. The reason your identity doesn't make sense to a degree is because you're the only person that's ever been like that. Everybody is unique. There's no such thing as two human beings that are born exactly the same. And so you don't want to shortchange yourself or others of that contribution. And also, if you're afraid of being challenged on that, right, because that's why people suppress it, is because they think that they're going to get caught in a position where they get asked, why do you believe this thing? And they're not going to be able to have an answer. If you've done it right, if you've taken time to analyze what you believe in and why you react to certain things the way that you do, and who you are now as a result of everything you've ever been through and how you were born, then you are going to have answers to those questions. And so, for example, I've been challenged before because I didn't make sense. I was talking to somebody in grad school, we were out to dinner, and I like talking about subjects related to this video, like metaphysics, self-awareness, and social dynamics, and things like that. And so they asked me, if that's what you like talking about, why didn't you study that in school? Because I'm a tech guy. I studied computer science and information technology. So again, it doesn't make sense to them. But that's what I explained to them is exactly what I'm saying now, which is that I'm multidimensional. I'm not unidimensional. You can't categorize me. You can't categorize anybody else that simply. We're all unique. We all have unique contributions to make. And that's something that you have to take time to actually try to figure out instead of trying to assign a label to it within the first few minutes of meeting somebody. So don't just blindly do stuff because it's congruent with an identity that's pre-existing that you've chosen for yourself because you don't want to stand out and you just want to be recognizable to people. Because not only is standing out necessary if you don't want to be boring or uninteresting, but it's also inevitable if you're being true to yourself. And finding your true identity is a process that takes time. You do have to be self-aware and present in all the experiences that you have. Ask yourself why you react the way that you do and how you've changed as a result of that. But so long as you're going through that process, then at a minimum, you're not going to come across as fake or inauthentic. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you around.